How you doing, everyone? I'm just going to go through this 1945 Harley Davidson build during 2020. Wasn't quite a quarantine build because I just worked on it days off when I was working full-time anyway at a home improvement center. But anyway, so let's start out with these cases. 1945 WL, and it had a chomped up timing hole. So I put in an insert and got it where I can use the original timing plug, and from the inside there's a flange so it can't blow out, and it came out kind of cool. You just use it to time it. So the jugs that came with it were like 50, 60 over, I forget, they were way over. I just sold them on eBay to someone in Japan, believe it or not. So I went and got these jugs that came with valve guides, valves, valve springs. Put in OEM pistons and rings, valves, valve springs. The heads came with it. That's what started this whole project. And there was a flywheel and shaft, but no bearings. So I got bearings, dialed in the end play one night, or 2 nights, and made my own little engine stand out of 2x4s. So I got a wheel, I got a rim. And when I got these stainless spokes, I had a truing stand, so I was able to do it at home. I respoked it. I did buy a torque spoke wrench, or spoke torque wrench, I'm sorry. And found out that the inch pounds it took, and went through. You got to do an offset on this one because of the brake. And then you do the radial, and then the lateral, and then you do it over and over and over again. But it was in my living room, so I didn't mind. This is an original Fender. It's all beat up. I kind of like it because that was not really the look I was going for, but that's what I can find. It is OEM. It's the aftermarket trim. Aftermarket Fender trip. That's not a real Harley, quote-unquote, Fender light. There's one for like $800 on eBay now. This was $50. And it came off like an old vehicle, Nord A or something. And I did just put an LED light in today. It's pretty cool. Looks pretty bright. It's a Harley horn. It's not the original. I did go 12 volt instead of the original 6 volt. It's the original bracket. Instead of a headlight, cycle rate, it sells for $1,200. That's a $35 1917 Dodge headlight shell, and what I did is I retrofitted a 12 volt LED bulb in there with a adjustment bracket to be able to swing it back and forth. And with this design right here, just 2 pipe holders and a couple of all threads, I can move it this way too if it needed. So unfortunately it is an aftermarket front end. I do apologize for that. I couldn't find one at the time for under $2,000. This was much less than that, at least for me. It is an OEM brake. You got new brake shoes. I got to find a proper nut for that yet. I keep forgetting. Found this brake cable. Oh yeah, by the way, I just did piece by piece on eBay and a couple of vendors, and had every part shipped to the door. So I was staging parts in the house until I came out here and put most of it together in a couple of weeks, and then I've been working with it in other bikes too. But anyway, so I found this really cool original cloth, and I know it's for a Survey car. That's for the e-brake. I have that on my Survey car too, but it does no harm. Say I park it on a hill or something, I'll be able to have an emergency brake. These are original handlebars, original horn, original high-low switch for the headlight. That all works. Got the original grips. Left hand, which I have the spark advance. The right is the throttle. I still need a steering damper. Gonna get that. Not sure if I want an original one or an aftermarket one. We'll wait and see. I put this cool knob on here that says gas, but I'm finding out that when you pull it up, it does bottom out on the handlebar. And that's what was happening earlier. That's why I was speeding up, because it was running out of fuel. I don't have a lot of gas in there, so I'm running it on reserve, which means I had to pull it up just a little bit. Shut off now. So this is an aftermarket shift gate and lever here. and linkage, but believe it or not, I do have one of these. I'm going to replace it with someday. This came with it. The knob, I have a couple other ones. This is aftermarket badge, and the trim is part of that roll of 15 feet or 50 feet, whatever it was that I spent $15 for and did a bunch of fenders with on the Survey car. The one I bought from the internet was like $90 and it was aftermarket. It didn't fit anyway. So this I could cut right to fit. I don't know if you can tell right there. There's a bracket holder there, and it just, all you got to do is trim it right down to that, and I thought it looked okay for what I paid. Looks like an original gas cap. These are original tanks, 2 different auctions. The right one, the oil, was a lot less money than the left one. He did have a right one. I kind of wish I would have bought it when he had this one, because it would have matched the non-paint or paint, whatever you want to call it. So, going down here, these are original floorboards. I have them right and left. It's kind of funny that I had these foot peg holders. They're a little different for the Survey car, believe it or not, in the back. So I had a pair of them, but it wasn't that. And anyway, that was another thing. So that's a new spring for the clutch pedal. These are just aftermarket pads. I think it looks pretty good. This air cleaner, I don't even know where it's from. I think it's off of one of the carburetors I have for Survey car. The aftermarket backing plate. But it is a Linkert M51 carburetor with linkage. I did use a hardwire fuel line at first. This fuel shut-off valve, I don't know if you can see it, I'm sorry. Had the wrong thread, so I changed the fitting. The brass fitting didn't tighten good enough to the steel for me, so I went and just got another shut-off valve and put the other fitting back on. So the voltage regulator, see, I used an alternator that looks like the generator. Then a solid-state alternator. I made this little alternator bracket relocator using 2 of them, and it's on there really good. I think it fits well there. It's out of place, and it'll also get some air. And the wires are very short. I tested it with my alternator tester, and it is giving juice to the battery to charge. So the primary, the clutch, 3 different baskets. Everyone was selling me these flathead bearing retainers that were for big flatheads. It's very similar. Finally I bought one that was really cruddy but had it on there, so I used that, and when you put them side by side you can see how easy it is to make that mistake. But it's kind of funny because after 90 days I don't need to return it, and I was just staging parts for a while, so I didn't really get to it till after their return time. This is a 12-volt coil, aftermarket. Looks like the original 6-volt. Actually, I have a bracket there. I put the circuit breaker right here. I think it's a 20 or 30 amp. So the seat that was on here had a bracket here. He must have been running a solo using the springs here. So I had to mount a seat thing here. And this tube, when I got it, was all boogered up inside from a weld job. I couldn't get the pogo stick in, so I had to drill in there and use a grinder, and got long drill bits, and I was out here for a few nights, sometimes after work, just slowly getting through, and finally got through, and it works nice now. I just put this spring on today. That's the one that holds the pin that holds that seat in. It is an aftermarket dash and speedometer, so I'm going to look into the speedometer, why that isn't working here shortly. And aftermarket switch, do my own wiring, no wiring harness, circuit by circuit. Right now the generator light comes on when it's running and gets brighter, I guess, as I'm bringing more juice. Anyway, so the seat was had all this really dried foam. I took the leather out. As you can see, it was really bad, and I put another piece of leather underneath, and then pleather, and sewed it, and then there's clips. So I got clips, sewing. I'll see if you can tell here. I don't know. I did paint the pan. The foam was so bad I just had to get a piece of foam I had in the garage somewhere. You know, now you have stuff in the garage. I had a piece of foam. And, you know, it was easy. I just shaped it to the pan, sewed this on. I traded a sprocket for this skirt underneath. It goes all the way around, but then I cleaned this up, and this came with the seat. And after I cleaned it up, I said, you know, it's kind of cool. Got that nice star. And I looked online and said, oh, it's 1947 knucklehead seat. Actually, this goes on the other side, believe it or not, and that faces that way. But this is how I was able to work since I didn't have the complete piece. Put a few bolts in there. Try to save as many of these cool little riveted things. Just gives it a little bit of a cool look, I guess. These handlebars, these passenger seat came with it, handles. So I put these, this is an original OEM auxiliary buddy seat helper spring. This is an aftermarket clip. I have it tied because it seems to just fall out of there. I guess when you're riding it, you would be applying pressure, but I just have it up permanently. You can see the bolts I put in there. Got a pack of grade 8 bolts from the internet for pretty cheap, because it didn't have any container and stuff. This is an original saddlebag mount, but I'm not going to use the saddlebag, so I thought the mount kind of looks cool. Matches the Fender with that word that they use now, you know, patina. Anyway, so kind of hit all the wiring that is exposed. I like to shrink wrap. It's an original battery box holder, aftermarket top. I got a 12-volt battery. I'm going to put the acid in eventually here. Been running a side battery for now, but I do have the acid for it. Battery's going to go right there. Really nicely hidden. I might get another Harley insignia on this side like the other. So what they do is they sell the sleeve that goes inside that has a ledge, so you can use the smaller battery that are 12 volts that are that shape and size. If you can see that. I think that fits in there just about right. Alright, so the rear wheel, that was just a week or so ago. I took off, changed the tire, put a new tire on, put it on the truing wheel, and tighten all the spokes up. I made these brackets for this toolbox because the way it opens, couldn't put on the other side. I'll show you when I get over there. There's a sidecar mount, so there was no room to put it, so I put it over here. It's okay. Kind of fits with the lines, so it'll get dirty. It's an original stand, original bracket here. These are aftermarket brackets that had a cut to fit. This actually was original, but the rear hinge part, but the guy had got it prepped to paint. Well, it really stuck out, so I kind of gave it a fake patina with these aftermarket trim pieces I had from, I've had them for years. Got it off of a famous flathead guru, Nordy, at a swap meet. So he's going to get to ride along. It's an aftermarket taillight. It's really cheap, like $30 versus, again, $800 for an OEM one. I put these mud flaps front and rear. They said new old stock. I don't think they're like OEM, but you know, not bad quality. They're pretty thick. It's just bling. Bling isn't as important for me. It's kind of cool when you sit on it. It's really comfortable. It's kind of loud, I guess, for the neighbors. I had it started. I went out to the street. I'm like, I'm surprised they don't bitch. Maybe they do. I don't know. So that's an original exhaust. I got that from England. Luke, he's a pretty famous guy on the internet and flathead groups. So a lot of these parts are more than you wanted to pay for them, but then you were glad to have them, if you know what I mean, you know, because that's why we work. This is the sidecar mount that was on the frame. That's why I couldn't put the toolbox here. So you have that, and there's another piece that you have to get for there, and here's the other one. So pretty cool. Sidecar mount came with that frame. I don't think it's an OEM frame. It was missing a tab up. Like I said, it was missing the seat thing. It was missing a hole up front. But it didn't really matter to me because I'm not showing this bike for points, or it's not going in a museum. It might go in a museum, but it's not like a points bike where I have to worry about it being politically correct, everything. But it's as close as, practical for a retail worker. Brake rod, same thing, aftermarket, nice. I got a little combination of new and old, original. A lot of repop is just bling. That's a nice chain, diamond. I had that, brand new. Aftermarket chain guard. For the chain adjuster, I put a bolt here. A nut. It was threaded, but it was sloppy, so just had to dial that in with how big you want your chain to be so that you can have a room for adjustment. So it is a little tight. I can go up a little bit, but then as it grows, I'll have the most room to expand if I need. It's an aftermarket pedal. I do have an original one on a Triumph over there. I don't know if you can see it on the one that's covered red and white. It's hard to see anyway. I may swap them. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. It's that aftermarket speedometer cable and speedometer drive with speedometer. Wasn't happy about that, but it's really hard to find that stuff original. And if you do, you're paying your whole paycheck for one part. That's what you're into. That's great. Anyway, this transmission I got from a guy that I got a transmission from before, and he hooked me up with a pretty good price that I couldn't resist. To be honest with you, I couldn't build one for what he charged me. And new gears, new seals, it's definitely rebuilt. He's a professional. He does it for a living. Unlike me, who just comes out here on my days off. So I got a brand new clutch cable. I had a OEM one. It was frayed. I was like, you know what? Who cares? Get a new one. It's pretty nice. I had this is an OEM lever. The little thing inside was boogered up, so I took it off and I put a new, I don't know what you call that part, but it's the part that pushes the push rod clutch thing, And what else we got going on here? We have this great manual advance distributor. I was pretty excited to get this one. It had that cool spring set up for the points. I changed the condenser to a 12 volt. I don't know if that mattered, but I was like, wow, that's pretty cool if it did matter. I remember to do that. Those are aftermarket valve covers, and then right after I bought them, some guy online had OEM ones that would have probably fit in better in terms of aesthetics. Aftermarket oil lines, they're just oil lines. Next time I'm going to make my own. I'm going to save a lot of money. I have a pipe bender, but put a brake switch. It's like original, but it is aftermarket. You're just not finding that kind of part too often. It does work. The header exhaust I had worked. I thought this would work better. In my rush, I cut this off, and I wish I would have kept that. So now I'm just going to add another support there. I put a spring here just for this brake thing. It seemed to be going here, and it works. So right there it starts braking, so kind of liked it like that. It's OEM tank and the aftermarket bling. Let's see what else. Well, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them. And thanks for watching. I got all the videos of it running, but I figured it would be easier to just separate the running one. Okay, let me finish on the front fender there. Those braces I couldn't find, so I bought an aftermarket fender and took the braces off that fender and used the braces. What's kind of unusual about that is then I sold the fender. Okay, and it all worked out pretty good in that case. So like I said, I got a steering damper, waiting on my license plate. And then I got to work on that Sportster right there. I was working on that before I started this. And then all of a sudden I just did this with the Servicar carburetor. And now I'm going to put it away and just a few things. Thanks for watching. And have yourself a great day.